Thanks for checking in the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. And today we have Matthew Fornaro. And Matthew Fornaro is an attorney, and I'm glad I have an attorney on the podcast in the Web3 space, because right now, for me, as far as I can see, they're very far and few in between. Now, Matthew is in South Florida, including Coral Springs and Parkland since 2003. Before starting his law firm, he was an attorney at two prestigious AmLaw 200 law firms focusing on civil litigation, and Matthew practices complex commercial litigation, including contract disputes. He's also a member of the Florida Bar, District of Columbia Bar, and practices construction law, intellectual property law, homeowner and condominium association representation, and drafts and revises business documents, including the formation of business organizations. So for those of you out there in some of those areas and spaces, pay attention, because Matthew has an awesome background. He also assists new business owners in choosing and drafting all legally required documents. He's involved in mentoring new attorneys and both a graduate and instructor of the Kaufman Foundation's Fast Track New Venture Program, presented by the Broward County Office of Economic and Small Business Development and the City of Hollywood, as well as a graduate and instructor for the Florida State University College of Business, Jim Moran Institute for Global Entrepreneurship Small Business Executive Program. As a small business owner himself, Matthew is proud of his representation of businesses in our community and is also available to assist transactional and litigation needs. Now, Matthew, I am so glad that you are here, because I've had very few attorneys come on the podcast, and I'm sure there's going to be some questions that I'm going to be getting in regards to Web3 litigation, how it impacts businesses, and what you have found in trends. But first, say hello to our audience and give us a quick update on how you decided to pay attention to blockchain, smart contracts, and the Web3 space.
So, good afternoon, Donna. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we were able to connect today. Briefly, as part of, my bio that you read of me helping, my business clients, I always have to try to keep one step ahead of trends and technology. And obviously, Web3 is here. And it may not be affecting businesses as much as it will be in the future, but at least I need to have it grasped, and I need to be here to help my clients when they are addressed and when they have to confront with Web3 issues. So that's kind of how I'm here for my clients for Web3. I mean, I've learned about Web3. I try to do as much Web3 stuff as I can on my own, and I'm here to assist. So that's kind of my background on how, in addition to my normal practice, I'm now doing Web3 law, for lack of a better term.
So in Web3 law, what are some of the trends, and what areas are you really seeing the focus or the main upkeep or the first level adoption at? Is it smart contracts, real estate, insurances, entertainment? Where are you seeing a lot of the movement and adoption?
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously, with Web3, there's key concepts. So, I mean, for first, like decentralization, there's, businesses are trying to decentralize their networks and their information, not to be dependent on, like an outside cloud or cloud or something like that. So I have companies that are trying to build their own, instead of Web2, they're going to Web3 as far as coming up with secure methods for data transactions. For blockchain, blockchain's now becoming more standardized and more commonplace than it was even just, a year ago. Clients are coming up with new ways that they want to do records transactions with, blockchain, and it goes towards like the transparency and security of certain transactions, data, transfers, and things like that. Next thing would be like smart contracts where, there's self-executing contracts that are written into the code, and you can kind of automate the process to reduce the need for like intermediaries. So that's something else I'm working on. And then obviously it also got to deal with cryptocurrencies and tokens, where now clients are starting to pay and get paid in cryptocurrency, and also having to deal with, identification of the tokens, and dealing with tokens to make sure that they're genuine, legitimate, and from a true source. It's a little bit of everything. It's kind of now starting to grow more and more. That's dealing with the dealing with my clients and dealing with Web3 issues like that.
So when you're dealing with Web3 issues like that, with the different tokens and the decentralization, the smart contracts, and everything is very new, does that have an impact on your regular traditional contractual law? Are these hybrids? Are they separate? Can you paint a picture on what's that's looking like right now in some of the experience that you've had?
Sure. I mean, traditional, contracts are contracts. Integrating technology into contracts is what's different now, because in contracts, when you have, whether you're selling the product or you're selling a service or you're selling software or something like that, you have delivery. Well, delivery used to mean physically delivering it or getting whatever. Now you have, like going through Web3, going through like blockchain and things like that. That's different. So now if you're the receiver, you have to be ready to not just, get something in your mail or get something in your email box alone, just be ready to receive blockchain and other code to deal with it. So that kind of thing is something that's got to be specialized and put into a contract. Otherwise, if it's silent, it's kind of confusing, because did you really deliver the product or the information, and did they really have the capacity to receive it? So if you're going to deal with like blockchain or other kinds of things like that, I mean, that's got to be in the contract now. And then the same thing with smart contracts. Like they have to, I mean, they're essentially self-executing, so the terms have to be written into the code itself, that the contract's self-executing and it takes place upon, click or enter. I mean, your automates the process and reduces the need for having intermediaries look at stuff or whatever, but you got to set up the system correctly.
So since you're in the legal field, I want to ask you a question, because I know I have some listeners that are not really sure what's going on and what that means in a smart contract, self-executing. Can you give us an example of a situation in a contract before blockchain and Web3, and that same situation, maybe paint the picture as it is now with that smart contract? So they have an idea. Is that when the house is sold, or the deed, or where have you seen it used, what it used to be, and you can give us an example of what it's turning into be?
Sure. I mean, it's smart contracts, now, it's a self-executing contract where the terms are directly written to the code itself. And, the process, like I said, is automated and uses less intermediaries. So like, for example, like a traditional contract or whatever, before let's just say pen and paper. So there'd be a written contract. You'd review it, you'd sign it, and the contract would be entered into based on the signature of the party that's either, or the parties that are part of the contract. With a smart contract, the contract is executed once it's created. So it reduces having to go back and forth as far as having it, send it to your attorney sends it to you, you review it, you send it back. No, it's all automatically done. So it reduces like administrative overhead like that.
Right.
And then also it enhances trust, because since it can only be you, the person who's intended to sign the contract, who receives the smart contract. There's no way that it's not genuine, and it's 100% accurate and it's 100% effective. So, some of the uses that I see upcoming for smart contracts are like invoicing, payroll, and escrow services, is so that those are things that are kind of, I don't want to say monotonous, but those are things that are, um, routine-ish. So it's easier to do. Where if like automated invoicing, if I just send you an invoice and automatically everything lines up and it's done, that's a lot easier than having to mail or email it to you, and then it goes to whatever department it gets routed to, and then it goes to the payment department, whatever. Instead, it's just automatically through. It's all verified. It's all done. The same thing with payroll or doing payroll. It's the same exact concept as invoicing. And then for escrow services, the whole money in trust, that's probably the most important thing an attorney can do. One of the most important things an attorney can do is hold money in trust. So this way, with smart contracts, there is a 100% guarantee that the money is going to be properly held in escrow and properly distributed to the person or the entity that it's supposed to be distributed to. So it cuts down on fraud, it cuts down on, again, administrative costs and things like that.
So then it has to be really executed, or the code really has to be complete, verified is what people want. Because can you change? I heard you can't really change any of that stuff.
Once
it's done, it's done.
Yeah, once it's done, it's done. So you want to make sure that it's done correctly and then implemented. So it's another level of, well, you should be doing due diligence anyways, but it's another level of due diligence. So once it's done and approved and everyone agrees on it, and then it's in place, it should be error proof at that point.
Have you ever had one that wasn't error proof?
No, in the actual real smart contracts that I've had, they've all been 100% on point.
Everybody's done what they were supposed to do, and it's really read, write, trust, verify, and everybody's happy. So far, I've heard great things.
Yeah, I'm
really for it. That's why I'm doing the podcast. I think everybody needs to know what's happening.
Yeah. No, I agree. When it's, you do your due diligence and you do everything correctly and implement everything correctly, and then it's fine. It's a lot, I haven't personally seen any errors or omission or anything like that, but I can tell you how just doing that is going to cut down on errors and omission, particularly with what I was just talking about with escrow services. There's, not to diverge too much off the subject, but there's a lot of trouble.
Yeah, go ahead.
Attorneys doing, let's say, real estate transactions, or business transactions where they hold escrow money and, you have a contract, everything's in place, whatever. It's people who then spoof the parties who then contact the escrow services to then change the contract and send the money someplace else, or to change terms to, pay out this person instead of that person or whatever. So that's like an evolving issue with the practice of law, is that emails aren't really secure anymore. And, you can spoof emails and do whatever. Smart contracts eliminate that. So that's probably, I would say, the biggest thing for like escrow services, is that smart contracts will totally eliminate the whole problem with being spoofed and getting, like incorrect information. So not even an issue with the smart contracts. There's no possibility that could happen.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So when you look at the intellectual properties, or the intellectual law and all the intangibles that we have today, when you transition into the decentralized space in the Web3 and the smart contracts and NFTs, can you help us understand how that's even still more of a benefit with NFTs and everything that you're seeing right now? Are you seeing a lot of that in Florida with some of your clients as well?
Yeah, NFTs are coming up, as Web3 develops and becomes more widespread. NFTs are obviously one of the backgrounds of Web3. So, they're, as they're unique digital assets verified using blockchain. So, it adds a level of security to your you want to call it intellectual property, tangible property, whatever you want to call an NFT. Because technically it could be tangible property, and at the same time it's also intellectual property. So It's adding a level of security because you need the blockchain to verify it. And if you don't have the blockchain to verify it, it's not going to be, transferred, or it's not be authentic if it doesn't match up to the blockchain. NFTs now we see like probably in non-commercial things. I mean, you see like in digital collectibles, people selling like one-offs and stuff like that. But you're probably going to see it expand into other areas of intellectual property. And then probably like as a business or something, you'll probably see like NFTs as part of if you're like a retailer or something, probably like in a loyalty program. So that's a good use of NFTs because the customer would have a blockchain code and then the NFT would come from the retailer or the service provider. Yeah, it's something that's coming up more and more. It's not too prevalent yet, but you can see that the signs are pointing that there's going to be NFTs popping up everywhere, and everyone's going to have NFTs for all kinds of different stuff.
I think that's a great thing. I think it's a benefit for everybody, the
Yeah.
art, and everybody involved. So when you're in the technical space with Web3, I'm sure there's some business owners out there that are wondering what do they need to be what do they need to look out for? What do they need to know about the structure, or how should they be planning for a decentralized space? Can you give anybody a heads up or a couple of ideas on how they should be planning and strategizing as we transition from Web 2 to Web 3?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you always have to be looking ahead. The majority of my clients are small and medium-sized businesses, so they're not like Fortune 500 companies or, NASDAQ type companies. But those companies are already looking ahead at Web3. They've already got everything in place ready to go. It's the smaller businesses, like the ones that I deal with, that have to understand that Web3 is a thing that's happening, and it's not maybe it's going to happen, it is going to happen, because you can see that we're moving towards, even though we're always going to have certain things in Web2, there's Web3 is going to take over a lot of things that Web2 used to do and that you used to do in the real world, and you used to have material possessions to do things for. Now it's all going to get moved to Web3. So I think that for my clients, one of the issues is obviously adoption and integration of Web3 into their existing systems. And the most important thing that I can tell my clients is that education about Web3 is probably the most important thing, and training your staff is also incredibly important regarding Web3. So I recommend, if my clients are beginning to start to see this pop up in their business, like people are trying to use non-fungible tokens and blockchain and stuff like that, I tell them to, make sure you educate yourself from reliable sources on my head about Web3 and how you can see this is going to be integrated into your business practice of the unit and how you're going to use it going forward. And take baby steps. Don't throw out all the computers and stuff and then say, I'm Web3 to the next step. You have to take baby steps and incrementally put in your Web3 technology. So you can do it decentralized. I don't want you to, throw out the modem and call it a day and say, I'm my own network now. I mean, I want you to gradually transition by starting your own independent network or whatever it is you want to do, but still be part of Web2 while you're changing over to Web3. And the same thing with the use of non-fungible tokens and blockchain and everything. Make sure you're still connected to Web2 while you're transitioning over to Web3, because you're always going to need Web2. You can't just totally cut out Web2, but you can't ignore Web3. So you have to find the balancing point of slowly bringing it on, or if you're in an industry that's moving at a faster clip or a faster pace, bring it on more rapidly, and then use it with your Web2 technology, and just be careful and be diligent with what you do.
Thanks. That's a lot of great advice. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
With the United States and all the states, are there some states that are moving faster than others in this space, and are all the regulations the same, or do we have regulations in the United States? And the reason I'm asking this question, with some of my guests and some of the reading I've done, it seems like the governance piece is already moving forward in Europe and other places and spaces. And we're kind of lagging behind on the legalities and governance and just all the issues that we may have in the US on what is and isn't. Can you speak to any of the trends that you see or any concerns or any heads up you can give us in regards to, you go into the Web3 space and you're thinking life is going to be lovely. What are some of the challenges, obstacles that end up happening when you're dealing with either different states, spaces, or countries? So what trends do you see from the legal side?
Sure. It's interesting because technology always moves faster than the law. So the law, since back in the days of when you first memorialized, modern day common law, whatever, in England and moved it over to the United States or whatever, they've always labored to keep pace with technology. And that was normally through the IP space with patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. The law is always slow to keep up with them. So now that we're moving faster and faster and faster, the law is still very slow to keep up. And so with Web3 technology, there's like an evolving regulatory environment for, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology that is probably better situated and handled right now in like Asia and Europe than it is here in the United States. The US government, it is actually working, is trying to put together some stuff to deal with Web3 technologies. And then there's a lot of, local, like state governments that are dealing with Web3 things. So my advice would be to just encourage businesses to stay informed and compliant with regulations as they pop up, which they're starting to pop up more and more now as time goes on and Web3 is more prevalent. But yeah, it's a slow process, but make sure you just keep up with what's going on.
Okay. So are there anything that you would look at differently after having the experience that you've had with some of your clients and the knowledge that you have? Is there anything that may have taken place that when you look back, you wish you had thought about some areas of that transaction a little bit differently, or wish the parties involved had did more legwork or research? I guess I'm really asking, what do people really need to know when trying to dot the I's and cross the T's as they come into that Web3 space? Are there main three things or five things they really need to pay attention to as everyone transitions? Everyone's got a lot of fear. They're nervous. They're not sure. Everything is AI, AI, AI. If you had to really capsulize it or summarize it, what are the main areas you think people need to focus on so they can have a smooth transition?
The state obviously be diligent in what you do, and kind of just what I was talking about, where you can't just jump shit from Web2 to Web3 all day. You have to slowly bring about the implementation of changes and slowly bring it on. You can't just go cold turkey, go Web3. So I would tell businesses be ready to start dealing with Web3 issues, if they're not dealing with them now, because you could be, an online retailer or something, and someone comes to you and says, "Oh, in cryptocurrency, what if you don't have the capacity to do that? You're going to lose out on a sale because you don't have the capacity to do that." Well, someone's going to be dealing with AI and you've never dealt with AI, so you don't know what's going on. Someone's going to have a decentralized network that you're not going to have any access to, that you're not going to have any idea what's going on. So my advice, again, would be to take it slow and steady, but understand that you're going towards Web3. And there's a lot of examples of future trends that are coming up out there that, businesses and, people in general need to be on the lookout for, like decentralized autonomous organizations, Web3 based marketing, which is totally different than Web2 based marketing, and then decentralized marketplaces, which, I mean, totally different than having like an Amazon or an eBay where you would have like a totally decentralized kind of sales process or system that will just be, night and day from what you're used to. So just keep an open mind and make sure that you're diligent going forward and make sure that you know Web3 is here and you have to get ready for Web3. Again, not top Web2. Web2 is going to still be going on, but make sure you're ready for Web3 with all the different things that are come about with it.
So what do you think it's going to take for some of the attorneys to really start taking it more seriously? How does that happen? Because they seem to be almost like nonprofit organizations in some way. They're not going to jump on some things too quickly. They're going to take their time, methodically look at it. What do you think really has to take place in the marketplace or in different industries for the attorneys to really start paying attention to it?
Well, for attorneys, they're going to have to get hit with Web3 issues all the time in order for them to, come out of their shell and figure out what Web3 is all about. If you're a, like I'm a business law attorney, whatever, if you're a business law attorney or whatever, a commercial litigation attorney or whatever kind of attorney you are, and you don't see Web3 issues, then you're not going to learn about Web3 issues and you're not going to deal with Web3 issues. And it's a little bit proactive on the part of the attorney that if they're not seeing that all the time, they need to learn about it. But with the attorneys who are going to get hit with these Web3 issues, they're going to learn about it real quick because otherwise someone's going to take their business elsewhere to someone who understands Web3. So as Web3 becomes more and more prevalent, just everyday business, from small businesses to large businesses, you'll see attorneys finally jump on board and understand what Web3 is all about, and you'll see the law catch up and come in and start regulating Web3 better. It's going to take, the average attorney in their day to get hit with Web3 issues to then be ready to deal with Web3 issues.
So in the interim, and the reason I ask, because there's people looking for attorneys and they can't find any, can someone in New York contact you for Web3 business, or does it still have to be a New York resident with a New York attorney, or depending on what the issue is in the contract, is it still pretty much the same as it was, or do you have more freedom in Web3 and decentralization to go to whatever attorney you like to handle your business?
Well, it's a combination of both. I mean, obviously, most of the Web3 stuff is going to be transactional. Depending on which state's laws apply, you have a Florida attorney let me handle a New York business or vice versa. It just depends on what the smart contract is going to be all about or what the Web3 issue is going to be about. So yeah, I can go across state lines for certain things. And then obviously just like Web2 issues or other real world issues, there's certain things that have to be state specific that are handled by attorneys within that state. So it's subjective. It depends on what the issue is. But yeah, attorneys from other states can handle certain issues.
So before we talk about how people can reach you and your law practice and what you're doing, I'm curious to know, is there anything on your wish list or anything that you wish would happen? Anything there that you'd like to share with us, or any projects or something you'd like to share that's going on that you'd like to give some insight on?
One of the things is I'm heavily into using AI in my practice, which is kind of a little Web3 issue, but it's not super Web3, but it's kind of Web3. So, my message is that AI is revolutionary. I don't have to say that. AI can help you cut down your workload, can help you increase your productivity, can do whatever. The only thing with AI is that AI is dangerous because you can't let it overtake the quality control and the human review factor. So for my practice, I use AI, but I always supervise the AI that I use. I always check the AI that I use. I always look at everything that comes out from AI and revise it myself and do whatever. I don't totally rely on the AI to do everything and just say, oh, that's great, send it out, or, whatever. So my advice or my wish would be is that when people start using AI or other technologies, is to understand that it's a tool. It's not the method itself. It's a tool that's part of your toolbox to be able to do things. it's not going to take over everything and do it by itself. You have to use it in conjunction with your own talent, skills, and abilities in order to make what you want happen happen.
So at the end of the day, sounds like you have a thumbs up on the AI as long as you manage it, monitor it, adjust, and pay attention to what the output is versus just taking it and running with it as it is. That's awesome, because some people really feel like, no, they're a little bit nervous about the AI and what's going to happen. But the majority of people I'm really seeing move forward, adjust to what's taking place, use it in the toolbox, and really have fun with it. And it really just enhances who you already are, what you're thinking, or what you're doing in your skill set. So, how can people reach you?
Sure. So I'm on all social media and everything, but the easiest way to find me is to go to my website, which is fornarolegal.com, which is FORNAROLEGAL.com. And that way you can find all my stuff on my website. I have lots of podcasts, videos, white papers, all kinds of things that explain all different laws and concepts and theories like that. And then you have links to all my social media, like my YouTube page, my Instagram, my Twitter, all that stuff. So the best way to reach me on my website, and there's my phone number, my email address, all that good stuff.
Okay, Matthew. So check this out. You got a lot going on. What else you want to share while we on the podcast here? What else you got going on that we want to know about that I didn't think to ask you about? You got a book. You got a lot of white papers. You got a lot going on there. Tell me some more.
You know,
Anything else?
just
I feel like I'm leaving something out. Am I leaving anything out?
No, I'm just excited about AI. It's all, responsible AI use. I'm very excited about.
Okay, I'm really glad to have you, Matthew Fornaro. We're going to be good friends. I really like the way you rock and roll, and you being an attorney down in Florida. And everyone, thank you for listening to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. And we're shaping tomorrow together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a nice day, and we look forward to serving you again. Thanks for checking in to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you.